So I'm parked now, but while I was driving, I was thinking of people that deal with a lot of road rage. When you think about people that's dealing with road rage, you think about people that's driving uh, with emotion. So they get very upset when someone maybe cuts them off. Um, they can't let you in front of them because they're very anxious to get where they need to get, and they think that one car in front of them is going to hinder them. They won't let you over. They won't let you in. When they see you trying to get over, trying to get in, they begin speeding up. So, you know, to me, that's driving with emotion. And it's not driving with intellect, because when you operate on your emotions, a lot of times you don't think of what happens after you spill your emotions or operate on your emotions. What's the end result of that action? Impulses. I guess a good way of saying it is, don't be driven. I guess I was just trying to tie it in with driving, because I was driving and made me think of it. Don't be driven by your impulses. What does that mean? It means that, we are all emotional creatures. We have emotion and everything else. But I think there's a certain place and time to display emotions. And then there's a time when, sometimes the emotions just come out of you. But it's important for you to maintain control of self when allowing those emotions to flow from you. You can get excited, but you bridle your excitement so you don't get carried away. You can weep, but you bridle your sorrow so you don't get pulled into it so far that you can't come out of it. And then you get stuck in your grief. And when thinking about it, sometimes I wonder if certain people can or cannot control it. But if you can't, then those are things that, knowing yourself is a beautiful thing. Because the more you know yourself, the more you can strengthen your weaknesses. And, there's a couple people I know where their emotions get the best of them. They go into panic attacks, anxiety, and everything else, because there's no bridle, there's no mastering, there's no control over those emotions that they allow to flow out, and instead those emotions control their functionality. Don't be driven by your impulses, because your impulses can cause you to do things. When you're driven by your impulses, you kind of forget the intellect. The intellect makes you stop and think and say who, what, where, why, how, what's the end results, what's the consequence, etc. Driven by your impulses means that you just kind of just go with exactly what you're thinking right at that moment. You're impulsive. You just jump at the opportunity. You just move, and the intellect that's inside of you doesn't get a chance to activate and say, hold on, let's calculate and see if we do this, if we take a swing, if we jump out of a car and confront the person behind us. What's the possibilities of somebody getting hurt, somebody getting arrested? If we just decide to cuss somebody out, what's the response going to be? I was watching this video on YouTube the other day, and I guess the lady's man, I guess that was the title, he was cheating with this other woman. The other woman acted off her impulses, immediately went at this person, cussing and declaring what she is and what she ain't, and I'm that, whatever. And she literally, I think she took a bottle and smashed it up against the person's window. and the guy was trying to hold her back. She was all caught up in her emotions, and she was all stirred up and on fire, and like she's ready to fight. And the girl whose car she did it to, she got out of the car, pulled out a gun, and shot the person. Now, impulsively, the girl probably was correct to be mad, but you got to bridle that anger, because if you don't bridle that anger can take you over the edge, and your over the edge might affect somebody else's edge, or might push somebody over their edge, and then we end up in a tragedy. There is a scripture, and everybody, when people think of scriptures, sometimes people be like, that's not what it means, you're taking it out of context. But sometimes maybe the scriptures just can mean that to you, because if that scripture affects you in a good way, then it was a good thing that you read that scripture. There's a scripture that says something like, be ye angry but sin not. Now that might not mean what I'm about to say it means, but if it can relate and it can cause you to not be led by your impulses, then it's a good thing that you read that scripture. And the way I'm saying that it could apply, even though it might not have the exact revelation for this moment, is you have a right to be upset. But if you allow your upsetness to push you over the edge and do something crazy, then there can be a consequence for that. Be ye angry, or you could be emotional, but sin not, but don't go over the edge. Because why? Well, the scripture might say, because you have a right to be angry, but you don't have a right to sin and let your anger lead you into sin. Well, maybe because that sin will lead you into a consequence that you don't need to be dealing with, if you could bridle your anger or bridle your emotions. Be ye emotional, but don't go over the edge. Bridle your emotions, because your emotions can send you into anger, or the action with anger. You can pull a gun, you can stir somebody up, because two negatives don't equal positive when you're going against each other like that. That might be math, but in the real world, if somebody's negative is coming against somebody else's negative, it's going to cause a more negative interaction that can result in something. So that was just something I was thinking about while I was driving to work, and basically saying, don't be driven by your impulses, because if you let your impulses control you, then you will act impulsively, of course, but it would be without intellect. It would be based solely upon emotions, and sometimes we can't bridle our emotions, and we let our emotions get out of control, which could lead us to something hurtful or disastrous or whatever else. So that's all I got to say today. Or at least for today, or at least for this morning. I'm about to go to work. God bless everybody. Have a good day.